there are certain underlying issues and certain elephants in the rooms that don't want to be addressed. For example, simple traffic visibility on the road, it's not there, especially after 4 o'clock. That's why you see most of the accidents are happening, because there's a truckload of unlawlessness happening in our road these days, due to the fact that our traffic cops, they just sit there. And with the lack of management engaging with the officials, it creates a problem, due to the fact that we're going to find ourselves sitting with an escalating number of corruption that is taking place. And hey, the doctor at Police Roads and Safety also needs to look into the issues of potholes, because we are paying a truckload of money in terms of repairing our cars, and this thing must come to an end. And in terms of the new HOD at social development, he's got a massive task, due to the fact that our substance abuse and gender-based violence has taken a huge turnaround, especially in our province. We saw recently with a recent magistrate who got killed by the husband, or the husband is accused of murdering her and putting her in a boot. Gender-based violence is something that the department needs to actually start putting effort into, especially with substance abuse. But this also escalates also to economic pressures that we are faced with. So I believe that the new HODs, with the current HODs, when they sit in their HOD exco, they need to start coming up with a working model that's going to turn around this province, because we keep on hearing what the MECs and the Premier is saying to us and making all these promises, and we end up with sitting with empty promises. Then at the end of the day, we're sitting with MECs and HODs pointing fingers at each other that Mang is not delivering that. We don't want to see that. We don't want to hear stories about, in the past, we know that there were fights between the MEC and the HOD. Those things need to be put back into the past, and we need to look into the future and see what happens. But hey, let's see if the new HOD for Arts and Culture, Ayanda, will bring back Maku better and revamped with more opportunities for all of us.
Thank you, Debza. And Ayanda, you touched on this, I think, in your opening remarks there. The question would be, how do you believe that these appointments will impact the cultural sector and the community of artistic expression in the Free State? I know that you touched on it, especially when speaking about the Department of Roads and Transport. You touched about the artists traveling at night through through bad roads and so on, and you hope that the appointment will assist to resolve those kind of problems. But generally, in particular to the arts and culture sector, how do you hope that the appointment of Steve Chabalala will help resolve your problems in that sector?
Okay, no, thank you. My small observation of Mr. Steve Chabalala was that he's a firm person. I've been following him on his social media account. I've never engaged with him, to be honest, but he seems like a firm person, and through sources that some of us are using, it seems like a person that doesn't take let me use this word, nonsense when it comes to maladministration. And since he became, remember, he was the manager and officer of the MEC, and there are some of the things that he would put his foot down to say he would never do them, whether it was a call for the MEC or a call for whoever, but he would tell you that if this thing is not going to serve the purpose that was meant for in terms of delivering for the creative sector, he would literally say he won't do it. And that particular personality is the person that we need in this department, because he's inheriting the department that it has lots of unruly officials. I need to use that with many and lots of unruly officials in this department that Debo has just said have tended to become promoters themselves. They have replaced us as promoters into our creative sector. You will find a promoter running around with a quotation of artist wanting to procure an artist, and that is the role that should be played by the promoter. We are saying Mr. Steve, his role is to create a conducive environment in terms of linking this department with the distiller, because it's unfortunate that you cannot run and have a prosperous or achieve what you want to achieve in the creative sector without linking it with the tourism sector in this country or in this province. There's been proven by other countries such as your Nigeria and Ghana and the US, that the creative sector go hand in hand with the tourism sector. So we are hoping that during the ad hoc committees and meetings that they will be having, Mr. Steve will be able to engage the MEC of, or not the MEC, the HOD of this year, to say the program that they will be doing that side is the program that it's supposed to be speaking to the program that this department is supposed to do. And this program should be impactful in 5 districts, not only in particular district. We've got the sicknesses of officials and politicians wanting to serve where they are coming from. And that sickness that has brought so much pain into people that are based in, for example, if I'm not from Mangaung, people in Mangaung wouldn't benefit. Only those who are from maybe Lejoleputa would benefit. That sicknesses, I actually speak against it, to say we are not expecting it to see from Mr. Steve Chabalala. And the issues of Makufe that we are sitting with today is because of lack of leadership in that department. And we are hoping that with his leadership, and he will bring order, and things such as Makufe will come back with dignity. And we shouldn't find ourselves glorifying same programs that are on the same level as Makufe at the expense of government. We should allow any promoter to do as they want, but do not worship those that are copying the same model that were meant to empower the artists through government as government. Mr. Steve, I'm sure you would understand what I'm saying to you. And I'm making a call to him, which is answering your question, to say, this department, they've been going to a strategic planning for years without involving their stakeholders. So the concern is that what is it that they are planning for the sector when the stakeholders are not involved? CIPSA was never part of any strategic planning of this department. Free State Music Association was never part of any, Yosakai, if you can call them. They have never been part of the strategic planning of this department. So we are saying, what is it that the officials are planning on our absence when we are not there as stakeholders? So we are calling to him to say, correct such small mistakes, and then we'll be able to support you as the new HOD.
Were there any surprises, in terms of these appointments or disappointments, like, people that you had hoped would be appointed and were not appointed? Or were you surprised that a particular person was appointed there?
Honestly speaking, to me, there wasn't surprise, or there was not even disappointment, because I didn't actually follow in terms of the candidates that actually applied to these particular positions. And I was hoping that it would be that we would get people with a true background of artistic and sport, but at least at arts, that Chabalala has a background of sports fraternity. Hopefully he will understand the arts fraternity as a whole. And with the HODs in other departments, I'm not quite familiar with them, due to the fact that I was doing my own research on them, and I could see there is a bit of background that I'm seeing about them. So I'm not gonna have any expectations like I would have in the past, hoping that a person would come and make miracles, and a month, 2 months down the line, those people, they don't act according to. All I'm gonna do is just say, I'm gonna hope for change, and I'm gonna allow the person the space. And after a couple of weeks or so, we should start reviewing what he's doing, because we see them on social media. What they are portraying on social media is not what they're actually implementing. That's another totally different thing. And in terms of what Ayanda said earlier about certain officials actually advising the HODs in a wrong manner, it's bound to happen. I'm expecting that. I hope, as a man of his word and his stature, he will be able to know where he stands. He will know his line, because we all know that officials, they all have their own opinion in terms of what the market is out there and what other people are actually doing outside. So in this situation, there's not much surprise. All I'm gonna say, hey, it's a moment where we say, let's sit back, let's get our popcorns and watch the movie. I'm hoping it will be a good movie to end. It won't end like the Titanic, how it ended. And let's see if we can have a part 2.
Yeah, and Ayanda, you spoke about the important linkages between the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture with stakeholders in the sector itself. That previously there's been exclusion of the sector in the in planning and strategic sessions and so on of the department. Now, having said that, like, are you going to approach the department, with any strategies or initiatives that you think the heads of departments should now prioritize in order to promote and support, the arts and culture sector? Have you planned engagements with the HOD?
Yes, no, we do have
waiting for him to settle in, for the first 6 months, and then you'll talk to him in the next 12 months and so on. What's happening there?
No. We think we should do what we call first man on the ball. We should be receiving our letter, I think, later by this week, requesting to sit down with him and sharing how we view the creative sector, how we want to assist him, and where do we think the department is lacking, and we are going to be frank with him. And we're not going to that meeting to badmouth any official. We're not going to that meeting to badmouth anyone, but to be open, to say if he would want to build his legacy in this department, he should shy away from getting wrong information from anyone, and he should know that if those people that he thinks are going to advise him and they've been part of this department, why this department has been failing. Because it's an open thing that this department has been failing the creative sector. It's not something that we can hide. And we know, sitting here, it's now towards December, there's no funding opportunity that was presented by the department towards the creative sector. That on its own should tell you that there's a problem in this department. Whether that opportunity will come December or January, but it's late already. How do you start a fiscal year from April till now? You haven't offered your constituency, your artists an opportunity to start acting after a serious tragic moment of COVID-19. I mean, we have been through a lot. We haven't recovered as the creative sector. We are still relying too much on funding as the creative sector. We are sitting in a province that has never offered anything except last year, which it was. You would also check the committee that was composed to do the adjudication. It was not fully fleshed and accommodating other stakeholders. So we are saying, we are making a call to him to say, give us your vision, give us your plan, and let's rally behind it. Let's see how can we assist you, and please be inclusive of all the stakeholders. Don't shy away in engaging municipalities, because all our municipalities, as we speak in the Free State, there is no municipality that have cultural policy. We don't have any cultural policy in municipalities. Only municipality, if a municipality is assisting artists, they are assisting them through donations, which is an insult to us as a sector to say we can't be living through donations as a creative sector. We need to be funded through a policy in this municipality. But that is the role of SALGA and us as a creative sector, to sit down and work the cultural policy in the province, because other provinces, other metros have the cultural policy that is assisting the creative sector to work together with the municipality. So we are saying we are here to work with him. We'll wait for his response. We'll wait for his opportunity to sit down around the table with him and talk to him.
I think at some point we must speak about the arts and culture sector in the Free State, and how sustainable it can be, like self-sustaining. And this Debza, I'm reminded of our earlier discussion around the sustainability of the state-owned enterprises. In the Free State, I have often observed that it would be very difficult to have a self-sustaining arts and culture sector. But perhaps this should be a discussion for another time. Debza, there is no Maku this year, as you colleagues have said. Now, September, October, these are heritage and tourism months, basically in our country, going up to December even. Now, I'm talking to this question goes to both of you. Is it going to be left unattended? Is there not going to be anything simply because the promoters, the artists, and everybody in that sector was completely reliant on government in order to be able to provide the resource for entertainment during this time? Maybe let me start with you, Debza, there.
The sad reality is that Maku was a platform for promoters or /business to actually do something and actually acquire additional clientele from outside the province. However, with the dark cloud that has been hanging for the past 2 to 3 years with regards to Makufe, it has actually caused most corporates that would invest money into entertainment during this time to actually withdraw their budgets and go elsewhere. This is based on my conversation with one of the liquor companies, the biggest liquor company in the country, whereby I was informed to say, look, there is a huge budget that was supposed to come to the province during that particular time, especially during Makufe, that was going to activate the different brands that they have. However, due to the fact that Makufe has been covered with this dark cloud, we won't be able to do that. We'll only be involved with 1 or 2 events that will take place, of which one of the events is by a promoter from outside the province, from all the way from Gauteng. He got the budget, he's coming to activate, and he's going to leave with the money. That's another topic for another day. However, promoters were not actually relying on government for the resources to implement what was supposed to happen during that particular time. They were mostly relying on the corporate sponsorship that was supposed to come in, because corporate, they were investing money to actually get their brands out there, to get the sales up and happening. But now, with the lack of participation and with the lack of eventing that's going to take place during this time, corporates don't see the means to actually invest. And also, COVID played a huge role, because immediately after COVID, all the marketing budgets were actually depleted. They literally had to start from scratch. It's only this year where we're starting to see corporates starting to put in a little bit of money when it comes to eventing. But we'll start seeing a lot of brand positioning and activations from next year. However, government has actually missed out on that particular element, to saying Makufe brought in investment from outside the province into our province. All we had to do is just capture it and make sure that our people get to actually retain the money, and we keep some of the money in our province. And it's quite a sad case, Yahore. There was a solution that I did table on the table, which most people did agree upon, whereby I said to the MEC, do yourself a big favor, break Makufe apart, call out issue an RFP, a request for proposals, bring in a number of promoters, sit down, allocate certain shows to different promoters, and just micromanage the situation and take it from there. Why I'm saying that, 2021, there was no Makufe, and we as promoters, together with other club owners, we came together and we implemented what we called Makufe at that particular time. And sponsors came through with a little bit of money that they put in. And there were different activities. Visitors came through, they enjoyed what happened. And the government came and acknowledged what we did, to say, we applaud what the promoters and club owners did. And this is a model that we see. But it was quite sad for it. They couldn't even see the model that was supposed to be implemented in 2022, because we did preach in 2022 to say, implement this particular model. I mean, like, you've got the likes of Ayanda with their association, whereby they could take and actually do your district festivals or do other events that they do. You've got other promoters that could have done, that have sustainable brands, that could have partnered with government and actually put it under the Makufe brand, and of which most of them, they were prepared to do that. So the saddest thing is that with them not holding Makufe this year, it's going to leave a huge dent in terms of the confidence when it comes to us acquiring more corporate partnership in terms of implementing Makufe next year and other events. So it goes back to what Ayanda said earlier. We all need to sit down and actually have a discussion with the HOD as the accounting officer and the implementing officer to say, we need to come up with a turnaround strategy, not just only for Maku, but for the whole entire year. And Mr. T, you mentioned the part about tourism and heritage month, which is tourism and arts and culture. They also need to sit down and see and find a way to collaborate together. Because if you look into other provinces like Gauteng, KZN, and Cape Town, arts and culture and tourism, they kind of like work together. And that is why tourism is thriving in KZN and arts and culture is also thriving due to the fact that they complement each other. But here in our province, both parties want to work in ISO, and you end up finding miscommunication. So we need to start avoiding that and actually come back and actually sit down on a round table to actually start. Government needs to allow us as promoters and other fraternities to table solutions on the table. And they need to start looking into that, because clearly what they've been doing, they've been missing the ball completely. And yeah, I don't want to go on and on and on, but we need to bring back
Maku. Did you ever get a response from the MEC with regards to your letter that you wrote? With this one, I just want a yes or no answer quickly so that we give back to Roda.
Okay. Did I get a response?
Yeah, from the MEC.
I got a crying emoji. That was the actual response.
Hey,
that was the only
crazy
response that I got. Yeah.
Well, from the MEC?
From the MEC herself. She just gave me a crying emoji.
Hey, that's something else.
Yeah.
Roda, on the same question that I addressed earlier, what's your view?
I think as promoters, we should be clear. There are promoters that are 100% relying on government when it comes to funding, and there are promoters that go out and engage the corporate world and make things happen. So promoters that were earmarked or were actually identified by the government to say, we'd empower you for the next coming 20 years to run this animal called Maku. And now when the shift is coming, the same animal becomes the problem to the same government that has been empowering them. So it actually says to you, how do you kill a brand that you have invested over 400 million as a government for the past 20 years through a particular person, only alone him? It shows that we need, I'm sure our premier is aware of this, that Maku, it's a brand that has spent close to 400 million to be where it is. So it's a brand that you can't just kill it like that. It will always haunt whoever that is trying to kill Maku. Even if you can have any competitors around Maku, no one will kill Maku. I'm literally telling you, unless you take it the same years to build it, to kill it. But for a 1 year, 2 year program to kill it, it won't happen. So hence, in my opening remark, I said, we should shy away as government to praise and worship those who are doing the same programs that it's our response, that it has been our responsible to do as government. Go and worship them outside our processes as government, which is what is happening currently. So I'm the promoter. I'm one of the promoters that go out and engage the corporate world and make things happen. So the lull that you are seeing now during this period, now that Maku is not happening because of the litigation, because that's what we were told, that it's because there's still a litigation around it. The case is still happening, so there's nothing that they can do. They will have to wait for that. So I'm basically saying to you, we should separate the two promoters that we have. We have promoters that rely on government, and promoters that go out and make things happen. And we are willing to work with government as such promoters. Some of us that are independently operating outside the government. So we are saying let's give.
In conclusion, what would you input?
I just want to correct Ayanda on something. especially where he speaks about promoters that depend on government and promoters that goes. No, my friend, it's actually the guys that are doing government services. They are service providers. They are providing service to the government. So we shouldn't regard them as promoters because they don't even take the initiative to go out and seek commercial partnerships. They just want to take the money in and eat. So that's the huge difference that we need to do, because there are promoters out there that actually take the initiative to go and seek funding and partnerships with certain corporates and still come back to government and seek partnership to give solution to government. And I think that's where me and you, Ayanda, fall in. But however, look, the HOD has a huge role that he needs to fulfill. And I don't know how is he going to do that due to the fact that already right now, as much as it's quiet about this whole issue, how there's no Makufe, but it's not looking good for our province in terms of the management, the implementation, the lack of participation, and the silent treatment from the MEC about speaking about Makufe. And it's sad to see the Premier endorsing other programs without actually highlighting the issue, highlighting the elephant in the room, and also the MEC to actually say, okay, we have this problem. We're not going to have Makufe. However, these are the solutions that we have for this year. Instead, they're just keeping quiet. And keeping quiet about the problem, it won't resolve anything. It will actually cause the problem to escalate and become worse. It's like cancer. If you don't talk about it or treat it, it's just going to spread to other elements and just going to kill you at the end of the day. I'm done.
Finally, what message or advice would you like to convey to the HOD concerning the importance of inclusivity and fostering a vibrant cultural community in the Free State, Ayanda? As you are closing, just what message would you like to convey to the HOD that would be about inclusivity, and because I think it's important what both are saying around the interaction of tourism as well as the creative sector. Now, in conclusion, like what message are you going to give to the HOD regarding to make these things happen as soon as possible?
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate what I've said, to say HOD should work very close with creative sector organization and have an opportunity to engage those who have been there in the sector, because we've got artists that left the province and are doing very good outside the province, even on an international level, that needs to come back and assist in the sector. And they should do that through an organized structure that are existing in the province, so that we earn the same respect that we think we possess as the organization that we are running. So that artists are starting to have confidence from organization and the department. So basically, that's what I would say to the HOD. Find a way of working with stakeholders that are organized, and let those that left the province come back and work with us as the organization in empowering the development of this province, because the role of this department is to empower the development of our creative sector. That's period. That's what exactly this institution is about as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ayanda, thank you very much for availing yourself for this engagement. I think it's important that we continually engage, especially if we want to see a revived arts and culture sector in the Free State, not necessarily only during the times of Makufe, but throughout the year. There has to be a program that you drive that keeps artists engaged and involved. And we're not necessarily just talking about musical artists here. We're talking about all forms of arts in the Free State. There is, I think artists have generally, many have been reduced to beggars. You find artists who now just do art as a hobby. They no longer engage in it as a core as a core feature of their work, because it is not earning them, bread. Let's keep engaging in the future so that we change the status quo to be something which is which would be easy to encourage other would-be artists to come and join in the sector, because right now the picture that is painted is not very nice and very rosy in the Free State. With those remarks, I'd like to say thank you very much, Debza. Thank you very much, Ayanda. Let's engage again soon.
Thank you very much, sir.
That they're having on Saturday the 7th. We also spoke to the president of Areta, Carl Niehaus, around the status of the state-owned enterprises and what is it that is Areta that they'll be proposing going forward. We just now spoke to Ayanda Roda and Teboho about their impressions and their reaction to the recent appointments of HODs, head of departments in the Department of Social Development in the Free State, the Department of Roads, Transport and Community Safety in the Free State, as well as the Department of, what is the third department? It's Roads, Social Development, and Sports, Arts and Culture. Yeah, and most of our discussion in that regard with those reactions centered towards, the importance of the creative sector. There is a dire need for investment of brains and resources in that particular sector. So we hope that all the HODs that have been appointed will do a good job, and everybody will be happy about, their input and outputs in those particular departments. The current review, the TT hookup, Kamsangatu, it's been nice.